I drive a garbage truck. I know, that's not glamorous. It's not the kind of thing that you lead with at a party, or on a dating profile, or even tell a stranger on a plane when they ask what you do for a living. But it's honest work, steady, predictable. And after 15 years behind the wheel of a rear loader, I've made my peace with what I am. I'm the guy who makes your trash disappear. The invisible man. The one who shows up before dawn, takes the worst parts of your life, and crushes them into nothing. You'd be surprised how much you learn about people from what they throw away. I've seen wedding photos in the same bag as divorce papers, baby clothes next to pregnancy tests, love letters shredded into confetti, entire medicine cabinets emptied after someone dies, the bottles still full, the labels still bearing the name of a person who doesn't need them anymore. People's entire lives compressed into black plastic bags and left at the curb like they never even mattered. You stop thinking about it after a while. You have to. Otherwise, every bag becomes a story. And stories have weight. Enough of them, and they'll crush you flatter than the compactor ever could. So, you develop a rhythm, a routine. You show up, you lift, you throw, you crush, you move on. You do it again and again until the route is done and you can go home and shower and eat and pretend you're just like everybody else. That's the job. That's all it's supposed to be. My route is in a rural stretch on the outskirts of the county. Long, crumbling roads, big lots, houses set far back from the street, separated by overgrown fields and dense patches of pine and scrub oak. And the kind of landscape that looks like civilization tried to take root out here and then thought better of it. I start at 4 a.m. The cab smells like diesel and the ghost of yesterday's coffee. The headlights cut 2 pale tunnels through the dark. And for the first hour, the only other living things on the road are possums and the occasional deer frozen in the beam, eyes glowing like coins at the bottom of a well. It's the kind of route nobody wants. The distances between stops eat into your time. The roads are hell on the suspension, and there's no second truck if you break down. You're out there alone, just you and the compactor, in the dark, and the endless parade of other people's discarded lives. I didn't choose it. It was assigned to me after the previous driver left. Left. That's the word they used at the depot. His name was Gary Pulaski. 22 years on the job. More seniority than almost anyone in the division. A union guy. The kind of driver who brought his own lunch every day in the same dented cooler. Never once called in sick. And one morning, he just didn't show up. Didn't call in. Didn't answer his phone. His truck was found parked at the depot. Keys on the seat. Engine cold. They said he quit. Walked off the job. It happens, they said. Burnout. The monotony gets to people. But Gary's locker was still full. His thermos was in the cab, half full of coffee, still lukewarm when they found it. His reading glasses were on the dashboard. His jacket was hanging on the hook behind the seat. People who quit take their things. People who disappear don't. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was just glad to have steady hours. The route was long, but manageable. 46 stops, spread across about 30 miles of back roads. Most of the houses were normal. Ordinary people with ordinary garbage. Bags of kitchen scraps and junk mail and broken toys and empty bottles. The debris of unremarkable lives. Except for the last house. The last stop on my route was a house at the dead end of Pell Road. It was a plain, single-story ranch. Beige siding gone gray with neglect. A yard that was more dirt than grass. Patched with weeds that looked sickly, even by weed standards. No car in the driveway. No decorations. No mailbox. The windows were always dark, even in the middle of the day. as if the glass itself was reluctant to let light through. The house looked dead. But every Thursday, without fail, there were bags at the curb. The first thing I noticed, before I even stepped down from the cab, was the quiet. Every other stop on the route had birds, insects, the ambient noise of the living world. Here, there was nothing. Just the idle rumble of my truck and the stillness of a place where nothing wanted to be. Always 3 bags. Always the same heavy black plastic. Always tied tight with a double knot. The first time I picked one up, I nearly dropped it. It was heavy. Not the kind of heavy you get from kitchen scraps and old newspapers. This was dense, settled weight. Like lifting a bag of wet clay. Maybe 40, 50 pounds per bag. The contents didn't shift when I tilted it. They held their shape, as if whatever was inside had conformed perfectly to the walls of the bag. Like it had been poured in as a liquid and then solidified. I threw it into the hopper and hit the compactor without thinking. Muscle memory. The hydraulic ram came down with a sound that was different. Not the usual crunch of household waste. This was softer, more wet. A dull, yielding compression. Like stepping on something that... I loaded the 2 other bags. Same weight. Same sound. I drove away and told myself it was nothing. People throw away weird shit all the time. Animal fat from a hunter, old cooking oil, compost still generating heat as it decomposed. One weird house wasn't worth losing sleep over. The second Thursday was the same. 3 bags, same weight. But this time, when I gripped the first one, I felt something I hadn't noticed before. Warmth. The bag was warm. Not like it had been sitting in the sun. The sun wasn't even up yet. This was a deep, radiating heat. The kind that comes from inside something. From a body. From blood moving through living tissue. I held it for maybe 3 seconds. And in those 3 seconds, I could feel the heat seeping through the plastic, through my work gloves, into my palms, into my skin. It felt like holding a sleeping animal. And there was a smell. Not the sharp, rotten stench of spoiled food. Something else. A thick, organic sweetness, like copper pennies left in a glass of warm milk. It wasn't overpowering. It was subtle, almost gentle. But it clung to the inside of my nostrils long after I drove away. I could still taste it at the back of my throat when I sat down for dinner that night. My wife asked me why I wasn't eating. I told her I wasn't hungry. The third Thursday, I was lifting the first bag, and it shifted. Not like loose contents settling, not like bottles rolling around inside. It was a single, slow, lateral movement. As if the entire mass inside the bag had adjusted its position, redistributed itself, like something turning over in its sleep. I froze, held the bag at arm's length, staring at it. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my wrists. It didn't move again. I stood there for a long moment, the dawn just starting to gray the horizon, the bag suspended between my hands, and I had a very clear, very rational thought. Put it down. Call your supervisor. Report it. I didn't. I threw it in the hopper and hit the compactor. The ram came down, and the sound it made was the worst thing I'd heard in 15 years on this job. A low, breathy exhalation, like air being forced out of a set of lungs. I loaded the remaining 2 bags without looking at them, without feeling them. I held my breath, and I worked, and I didn't think. That afternoon, I went back to the depot and pulled Gary Pulowski's route log from the filing cabinet in the dispatch office. Nobody stopped me. Nobody even asked why. Most of it was standard: mileage, tonnage, stop times. But in the margins, in Gary's cramped, slanting handwriting, there were notes. Short, fragmented, getting worse as the weeks progressed. Pell Road. Bags warm again. Heavier this week. Pell Road. 3 bags. One of them was pulsing. I swear to God, it was pulsing. Pell Road. Saw someone in the window, just standing there, watching. Didn't wave, didn't move. The last entry was dated the Thursday before he disappeared. It was just 4 words. She came outside today. I stood in that fluorescent-lit office holding Gary's logbook, and I felt something cold settle in the base of my spine, a slow creeping dread that spread outward through my body, like ice forming on a pond. The next morning, I found my supervisor in the break room, Dave Hendricks, a big man with a big gut and a perpetual look of mild inconvenience. I asked him about Gary. Casual, just making conversation. Dave didn't look up from his coffee. Gary quit. That's all there is to it. His stuff was still in his locker, I said. People leave things, Dave said. His voice was flat, final, but his hand tightened on his mug, and I saw his knuckles go white. Don't go digging through other people's logs either. That's personal property. He hadn't been in the room when I pulled Gary's file. There were no cameras in the dispatch office. He shouldn't have known. I should have pushed harder, shown someone the log entries, said the words out loud. But the look on Dave's face was an annoyance. It was a warning. The kind of look a man gives you when he knows something terrible and is begging you, silently, to stop asking before you know it too. So, I stopped asking, and I kept driving. Every Thursday, 46 stops. The last one always waiting for me at the end of Pell Road. 3 bags. Always 3. And they were getting heavier. By the 5th week, I started noticing changes around the house. The weeds in the yard, which had always been sparse and sickly, were gone. Not cut, not pulled, just gone. The dirt where they'd been was smooth and gray, packed hard, with a faint sheen to it that didn't look like soil. The 2 pines that flanked the driveway had dropped all their needles. Their bark was peeling away in long, curling strips, and underneath, the exposed wood was discolored, dark, almost purple. The silence I noticed on my first visit had deepened into something worse, an active absence of life, as if the property existed inside a bubble where nothing could survive except the house itself and the bags. By the 6th week, I could barely lift them, 80, 90 pounds each. The plastic strained at the seams, stretched so tight I could see the dark mass pressing against it from inside. The warmth had crossed a threshold from unsettling to aggressive, feverish. Holding one was like pressing your hands against the flank of a sick animal. That deep, radiating, desperate heat that living things produce when something inside them is very, very wrong. The smell had changed too, deepened. That faint sweetness from the early weeks had thickened into something rawer, heavier. It sat in the back of my throat like the taste of a nosebleed, like warm iron and wet soil, and something underneath both that I couldn't name and didn't want to. And the sounds, when I loaded them now, I could hear things inside, not movement exactly, more like the rhythm, slow, wet, tidal rhythm. Every week, I told myself it would be the last time. The next Thursday, I'd skip the house, drive past it, pretend it wasn't there. The 7th Thursday, I tried. I finished stop 45 and turned the truck north, away from Pell Road, toward the depot, toward home, toward anything that wasn't that house. I made it about half a mile. The itch started in my sternum, a tight, insistent pressure, like a fist closing around something behind my ribs, then a heat in my palms, the same heat from the bags, rising up through my skin as if my hands were remembering the warmth of them and refusing to let go. My foot eased off the gas without my permission. The truck slowed. My hands, those treacherous hands, began turning the wheel. I fought it. I gripped the wheel and stared straight ahead and told my body that I was going home. That this was my choice. That no house at the end of a dirt road had any claim on me. My body disagreed. I sat there on the shoulder for 10 minutes, the engine idling, my arms shaking with the effort of keeping the wheel pointed the wrong way. The pressure in my chest built until I thought something would crack. Then, I turned the truck around and drove to Pell Road. The bags were waiting, 3 of them, patient, warm. I loaded them without a word and crushed them and drove home and sat in the shower until the water went cold. I didn't try to skip it again. The 8th Thursday. I remember the morning with an obscene clarity. The sky was flat, steel gray. The air was cold and damp. Autumn had fully set in, and the trees along Pell Road were skeletal, their bare branches reaching into the low clouds like the fingers of something buried alive, clawing toward the surface. The bags were at the curb, 3 of them, same as always, but there was something else on the ground beside them, half buried in the dead gray dirt at the edge of the driveway. A work glove, heavy duty, county issued, the kind we all wore. The name written on the wrist strap in faded marker was Pulaski. I stared at it for a long time. Then, I left it where it was. I pulled on my own gloves, stepped down from the cab. I picked up the first bag. It was the heaviest yet, 100 pounds, easily. The plastic was stretched so tight, it was nearly translucent. I could see the dark mass inside, pressing against the membrane like something trying to be born. The warmth was immediate and shocking. It felt like cradling a fever. I got it to the hopper, heaved it up to the lip, and the bag split. The plastic gave way along the seam with a wet tearing sound. The contents spilled onto the steel lip of the hopper and slid toward me in a slow, heavy cascade. I stumbled backward, my boots slipping on the wet road, and I saw what was inside. It wasn't garbage. It was flesh, a dense folded mass of dark red tissue, smooth and wet, laced with pale veins that branched across its surface in intricate, fractal patterns, like the roots of a tree seen from below. It glistened under the gray morning sky, like something that had never been exposed to air, something that was never meant to see daylight. It was shapeless, no identifiable anatomy, no bones, no organs I could recognize, just mass, living, breathing, mass. Because it was breathing, I could see it, a slow rhythmic expansion and contraction, the surface of the tissue rising and falling in a steady, deliberate cadence. Inhale, exhale, inhale. The smell hit me like a physical blow, that raw sweetness, now fully unleashed. It was the smell of an open wound, of a surgery in progress, of something alive that should be inside a body, suddenly and violently exposed to the world. I was on my knees. I don't remember falling. My gloves were covered in the dark fluid that seeped from the torn bag. It was warm, sticky. It had the consistency of blood, but the color of old wine. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my body wouldn't respond. I was locked in place, staring at this impossible, pulsing thing that I'd been throwing into a compactor for 8 weeks. 8 weeks of crushing it, and it kept coming back, 3 bags every Thursday. What regenerates like that? What survives being crushed and comes back whole? I heard the door open. Not a click and a swing. A wet, sucking sound, like a seal being broken. A woman stepped out of the house and walked slowly down the driveway toward me. She was thin. Not the kind of thin that comes from dieting or exercise. The kind that comes from being slowly, systematically emptied. Her skin was pale to the point of translucence. I could see the blue rivers of veins in her temples, her hands, the hollow of her throat. She was wearing a simple cotton dress. Her eyes were the worst part. They were calm, clear, and infinitely, profoundly tired. The eyes of someone who had been enduring something for so long that the enduring itself had become the only thing left of them. "You shouldn't have to see that," she said. Her voice was quiet, steady, almost apologetic. "I usually double bag them. They've been bigger lately." I couldn't speak. My mouth was open, but nothing came out. She looked at the torn bag, at the breathing tissue spilling from it, with the same expression a tired mother gives a mess her child has made for the 100th time. Resignation. Not horror. Not surprise. Familiarity. "It's from me," she said, simply, as if she were explaining a rash. "It grows every week. I have to remove it." She held up her hands, turned them over slowly, and in the gray light, I could see the scars. Dozens of them. Thin, pale lines running from her wrist to her elbows, disappearing under her sleeves. Surgical, precise, evenly spaced. The work of someone who had been doing this for years. "Why don't you leave?" I managed. Something flickered across her face, a shadow of old pain. "I tried," she said, nothing more, but her hand went to her chest, pressing flat against her ribs, and I saw her fingers tremble for the first time. Whatever had happened when she tried to leave, her body still remembered it. She didn't explain further. She didn't need to. She just folded her scarred arms across her thin frame, looked directly at me, and said the only thing that mattered. "Please," she said. "Please, keep coming." I should have driven away, called somebody, anyone, but I didn't, because as she stood there, this wasted, hollowed-out woman in her thin dress, I looked past her at the house, really looked at it for the first time, and I saw what Gary Pulaski must have seen, what made him walk away from 22 years and a full thermos of coffee and his reading glasses and his jacket, and never even came back for any of it. The house was breathing. The same rhythm as the tissue in the bag, the same slow, tidal cadence. Inhale, exhale, inhale. The walls, the sliding, the whole structure was expanding and contracting, just barely, just enough that you'd never notice unless you were standing perfectly still, in perfect silence, watching with the knowledge of what to look for. The beige siding wasn't paint fading to gray. It was skin, dry, cracked, sun-damaged skin, stretched over a frame that wasn't wood or drywall or anything built by human hands. The dark windows weren't glass. They were membranes, taut and slightly wet, reflecting nothing, absorbing everything. In the front door, the door she'd just walked through, it was closing behind her, slowly, not swinging on hinges, sealing, the two halves pressing together along a vertical seam, puckered at the edges, like a wound knitting itself shut. The roof sagged in the center, and in the pale morning light, I could see a faint pulse running along the ridgeline. a slow, peristaltic ripple, like something swallowing. The house wasn't a house. It was an organism. And the woman wasn't its resident. She was its host. The tissue she cut from her body every Wednesday night wasn't a tumor or a parasite. It was the house itself, extending into her, colonizing her, using her body as a medium to produce more of itself. I could see it now, the logic of it, the way her translucent skin matched the membrane of the windows, the way her breathing synced with the walls. She wasn't living in the house was living in her. And every week, she carved it out, bagged it, put it at the curb, and someone came and took it away and crushed it into nothing. Because if no one took it away, if the bags piled up, if the excess biomass had nowhere to go, it would find another host. I looked at the remaining 2 bags on the curb, warm, full, breathing. I looked at Gary's glove, half swallowed by the gray dirt, and I understood, with a clarity that made my stomach drop through the floor of the earth, what happened to him. He'd come here on a Thursday, just like me, seen something, just like me. And maybe he'd been braver, or stupider, or just curious enough to walk up the driveway instead of away from it. Maybe he'd knocked on the door. Maybe the woman had invited him in, the way a prisoner might invite a visitor into their cell. Not because they want company, but because the thing that keeps them there is hungry, and the prisoner has no choice. Maybe Gary had stepped through that wet ceiling slit, and the house had found a second host. Gary Pulaski hadn't walked away from his life. He was absorbed into it. I loaded the remaining 2 bags. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip them. The warmth soaked through my gloves and settled into my bones like a low humming sickness that had no name and no cure. The woman watched me from the driveway, the same tired, grateful expression. "Thank you," she said as I climbed back into the cab. "The last driver, he was kind too, for a while." I didn't answer. I couldn't. I drove away from Pell Road, and I didn't look in the mirrors. That was 3 weeks ago. I've been back every Thursday since. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself I'd call in sick, switch routes, quit, like they said Gary did. Just walk away and never come back. But every Thursday morning, I get in the truck. I drive the route, all 46 stops, and at the end of Pell Road, the bags are waiting for me. 3 of them, warm, heavy, breathing. And I load them, and I crush them, and I drive away. Because I understand now. I understand what the woman can't say out loud, and what Gary didn't live long enough to figure out. The route isn't a job. It's a containment protocol. As long as someone picks up the bags, the house stays fed. The growth stays manageable. The woman keeps cutting, keeps bagging, keeps surviving. One host, one house, one cycle. Controlled, contained. But if the route goes empty, if nobody comes, the bags pile up, the tissue accumulates, the organism outgrows its host, and it starts looking for new ones. That's why the route was reassigned so quickly after Gary disappeared. That's why no one at the depot asks questions about the last house. That's why the supervisor looked at me with that strange, heavy expression when he handed me the clipboard and said, "Just do the route. Don't skip any stops." He knows. They all know. They've always known. I drive the route every Thursday. I pick up the bags. I crush them. I go home. I shower until the water runs cold, but the warmth never really leaves my hands. It lingers in my palms, like a stain that no soap can reach. My wife has started sleeping in the guest room. She says I talk in my sleep now. She says I make a sound she's never heard before. A low, rhythmic moaning, like I'm trying to breathe in a pattern that isn't mine. She says the bedroom feels different when I'm in it. Warmer. Too warm. Last Thursday, I noticed something new. A patch of skin on my left forearm. Pink. Raw. Slightly raised. Like scar tissue forming over a wound that doesn't exist. I sat on the edge of the bathtub that night. The bathroom door locked, and I pressed my fingers against it. It was firm, dense. The skin around it was smooth and taut, pulled slightly inward, as if something underneath was gathering mass. It's small, barely the size of a quarter. It doesn't hurt, but it's warm. I live 30 miles from Pell Road. I'd never been inside the house. I've never even stepped off the road. But the bags have been getting lighter these past 2 weeks. And the woman, last Thursday, for the first time in all the weeks I've known her, she looked almost healthy. The patch on my arm has been getting bigger.